Have you ever realized the paradoxical truth that the more vehemently you attempt to demonstrate your innocence, the more culpable people tend to perceive you? Consider how self-advocacy often seems to produce the opposite of the intended effect, projecting an image of fragility or defensiveness, while those inflicting harm manage to evade any form of accountability. However, here lies a profound secret: most individuals fail to comprehend that the very instant you cease reacting, discontinue justifying your actions, and relinquish the desire to manipulate others' perceptions of you, karma discreetly intervenes to rectify the situation. It bears a striking resemblance to quicksand. The more ferociously you battle against falsehoods and manipulation, the deeper you are ensnared. Conversely, when you ultimately achieve stillness, you ascend with remarkable ease. Envision the act of dropping a stone into serene water. Each action generates ripples, which inevitably return to their point of origin. This is precisely how karma functions: the negativity individuals disseminate, the suffering they inflict upon others, all invariably find their way back to the source. Thus, while others are preoccupied with plotting, causing pain, and inciting conflict, you possess a potent choice: become entangled in their dramatic machinations, or step back and observe serenely as karma concludes the narrative. Indeed, the universe operates with a subtle, yet undeniable, sense of justice. The energy we put out, whether positive or negative, inevitably returns to us, often in unexpected and transformative ways. Therefore, instead of expending your precious energy on defending yourself against baseless accusations or attempting to control the narrative, consider channeling that energy into cultivating inner peace and allowing karma to play out its natural course. It is in this quiet surrender, this graceful acceptance of the universe's inherent order, that true strength and ultimate vindication are found. Consequently, you become an observer, not a participant, in the karmic cycles of others, witnessing the unfolding of justice with a sense of detached serenity and profound understanding. The very instant you opt for silence, that, quite precisely, is when their actions boomerang, when their negativity devours them from within. And today, I shall illuminate the specific moments when maintaining silence is paramount, allowing karma to administer justice in ways your words never could. Do not bypass any segment of this presentation, for by its conclusion, you will perceive silence and stoic wisdom in an entirely novel perspective. And, should you find resonance with our endeavors here, I humbly request a single, cost-free favor: activate that subscribe button. It signifies the universe to me. Alright, let us delve into the matter at hand. Navigating interactions with individuals who distort reality with the intent to sully your reputation can be extraordinarily taxing, is it not? It is among those circumstances that evokes profound injustice, for while you are occupied with your own affairs, embodying your authentic self, suddenly, without warning, an individual disseminates a narrative that is entirely fabricated. Your instinctive reaction is most likely to vociferously advocate for immediate intervention, to meticulously rectify each and every inaccuracy, and to ardently and honestly defend yourself. I empathize. I, too, have experienced such situations, and it is indeed challenging to simply remain passive and permit individuals to manipulate the facts without interjecting. Consider this: when faced with such blatant attempts to undermine your character, the initial impulse to retaliate, to engage in a verbal sparring match, is often the very fuel that sustains the fire they seek to ignite. By remaining silent, by refusing to grant their fabrications the oxygen of your attention, you effectively disarm them. Their negativity, devoid of a target, begins to consume them instead, leading to a self-inflicted downfall. Furthermore, engaging in a public debate with someone determined to spread falsehoods rarely yields a positive outcome. It often drags you down to their level, making it difficult for others to discern truth from fiction. Silence, in this context, becomes a powerful statement, a testament to your self-assuredness and integrity. It allows your actions, your true character, to speak louder than any words ever could. It signifies that you are not swayed by their petty attempts to tarnish your image, demonstrating a level of emotional maturity that they clearly lack. In essence, Choosing silence at this juncture is not an act of weakness but rather a display of immense strength and strategic wisdom. But here's a profound truth, one that resonates deeply with the wisdom of the ancient Stoics: sometimes, your most potent defense lies not in raising your voice, but in the deliberate act of choosing silence. Consider this carefully: the more energy you invest in combating a falsehood, paradoxically, the more formidable that falsehood appears to become. It's akin to attempting to extinguish a raging wildfire with a mere breath. You only succeed in fueling the flames, intensifying their destructive power. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, astutely observed, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This timeless wisdom underscores the importance of aligning your actions with unwavering integrity. Trust that the passage of time itself will ultimately vindicate you, revealing the truth and dispelling any shadows of doubt. Individuals who resort to fabrication thrive on your defensiveness. They feed voraciously on your reactions, because each response adds a layer of dramatic flair and spurious credibility to their concocted narratives. Remember that every single response you offer can be readily manipulated and twisted into further ammunition against you. Therefore, do not willingly hand it over to them. Instead, take a deliberate step back, inhale deeply, and allow your life, your actions, and your character to speak for themselves. Let your integrity be your shield and your truthfulness your sword. I once gleaned a fascinating insight from personal experience: falsehoods, invariably, possess an expiration date. Their deceptive facade eventually crumbles under the weight of reality. Truth, conversely, is timeless and enduring. It persists through the ages, unyielding and unwavering. Ultimately, the inherent inconsistency of lies will expose them for what they are, revealing their fragility and inherent lack of substance. Time, in its relentless march, will always bring the truth to light, leaving falsehoods to wither and fade away. Therefore, exercise patience, maintain your composure, and allow the inevitable unveiling of truth to serve as your ultimate vindication. Stoicism, that ancient philosophy of resilience, profoundly reminds us that our most formidable strength resides not in external power, but rather in our inherent ability to master our own reactions. By consciously choosing to disengage from negativity, you demonstrate true strength, not any semblance of weakness. Indeed, your very silence transforms into a mirror, effectively reflecting their negativity directly back upon them, leaving them to grapple with its weight. Let me illustrate this timeless principle with a brief, yet powerful, anecdote about my friend, Mark. Mark, a dedicated professional, found himself ensnared in a difficult situation at work. He had a particular coworker who engaged in the distasteful practice of spreading nasty rumors behind his back. These insidious whispers accused Mark of manipulating work results to advance his own career, a grave and damaging accusation. This unfounded gossip quickly took root, causing his colleagues to begin doubting his integrity, ultimately creating a palpable tension and discomfort throughout the work environment. Mark's initial, instinctive response was to embark on a frantic campaign, going from desk to desk, desperately attempting to explain himself and vehemently proving his innocence. However, instead of succumbing to this impulse, he chose a path far more challenging, yet infinitely wiser. He chose to say absolutely nothing. He resolutely kept his head down, maintained an unwavering focus on his work, and continued to perform at his absolute best, demonstrating his commitment to excellence. Sure enough, after several weeks had elapsed, people began to notice something distinctly odd and inconsistent. The coworker who had initiated the malicious rumor had a documented history of similar stunts, demonstrating a pattern of dishonesty. Furthermore, her stories never quite lined up, exhibiting discrepancies and contradictions that raised serious questions. And just like that, the carefully constructed lie, burdened by its own inherent dishonesty, simply collapsed under its own weight. The truth, as it often does, prevailed. Therefore, the next time someone attempts to sabotage your hard-earned reputation with a web of lies, remember Mark's insightful approach. And, most importantly, remind yourself of this fundamental Stoic idea: your true character is ultimately determined by your actions, by the choices you make and the way you conduct yourself, and not by the fleeting and often unfounded opinions of others. Let your actions speak louder than any words, and let your integrity be your shield. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, a path to inner peace and resilience in a world filled with challenges. Rely on the certainty that truth, ultimately, will surface, irrespective of the present darkness or perplexity of circumstances. Cultivate patience, exercise control over your emotions, and grant karma the necessary latitude to unfold its inevitable course. For, indeed, dear friend, when all is said and done, silence, when accompanied by unwavering integrity, resonates more profoundly and distinctly than any elaborate explanation ever could. It is one of those profound experiences that strike you with the force of a visceral blow. An individual close to you, one in whom you placed immense trust, performs an action you deemed impossible. Abruptly, the foundation of your beliefs about them begins to crumble, your mind races erratically, your heart plummets into the abyss of despair, and you are left in a state of perplexity, pondering how you failed to perceive the indications. At that precise juncture, the initial impulse for most of us is to engage in confrontation. You yearn for answers, desire an apology, or at the very least, seek the gratification of witnessing remorse reflected in their eyes. However, let us pause here and delve into a compelling concept derived from Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, the esteemed philosopher, once penned these words: "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." It is undeniably human to desire to respond, to articulate the depth of your pain, and to ensure they fully comprehend the extent of the wound they have inflicted upon you. Nevertheless, the agonizing reality is that betrayal often sheds more light on the character of the perpetrator than it ever could on your own. Consequently, instead of descending to their level, consider elevating yourself above the fray. Remember that maintaining your integrity and responding with grace, even in the face of deep hurt, speaks volumes about your inner strength and moral compass. It demonstrates that you refuse to let their actions define you or diminish your own value. The best course of action is often to rise above the pettiness and allow karma to administer its own form of justice, trusting that in the end, truth and righteousness will prevail. No amount of rationalization or remorse emanating from their lips can ever truly expunge the stark reality: they have already, in the deepest recesses of their minds, meticulously justified their deeds. Engaging in heated debates or protracted arguments will not magically bestow upon them a newfound comprehension or empathy. It is highly probable, indeed, that they have meticulously woven a narrative wherein they emerge as blameless, absolved of any wrongdoing. Therefore, in such fraught circumstances, one of the most potent and impactful responses you can possibly wield is the conscious and deliberate choice of silence and distance. But why, one might inquire, is this approach so remarkably effective? The answer lies in the profound and undeniable message conveyed by your very absence of words. Your silence, in essence, resounds with a clear and unwavering declaration: I fully recognize the unfolding events. I perceive your actions with unwavering clarity. And, crucially, I possess the inner strength and fortitude to gracefully disengage, to walk away without succumbing to unnecessary drama or histrionics. The ancient philosophy of Stoicism, with its profound wisdom, serves as a constant reminder that our true power lies not in controlling the actions of others, a futile endeavor in most cases, but rather in mastering our own reactions and responses to external stimuli. By choosing to respond with composed serenity, or indeed, by choosing to not respond at all, you actively reclaim your emotional autonomy and sovereignty. You refuse to relinquish control of your inner state to the whims and machinations of others. Here is a crucial truth, a valuable insight worth committing to memory and holding close to your heart: your inner peace, your sense of dignity, and your self-respect are infinitely more precious and valuable than any fleeting satisfaction you might derive from attempting to coerce another individual into confessing their perfidy or admitting to their betrayal. Their act of betrayal is, ultimately, their burden to bear, their cross to carry. It is not a weight that you should shoulder or a burden that you should adopt as your own. The wise words of Epictetus, the renowned Stoic philosopher, resonate deeply in this context. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that truly matters. Your strength, therefore, resides in the ability to calmly and deliberately step back from the situation, allowing their actions to speak volumes, to reveal their true nature without the need for your intervention or commentary. Let their deeds be the testament to their character, and let your silence be the embodiment of your unwavering self-respect. Envision yourself, with utter tranquility, extracting yourself from a destructive cycle, opting for silence rather than engaging in futile arguments. Conjure the image of the immense power and self-respect that flows from simply walking away, refraining from seeking endorsement or resolution from an individual who heartlessly inflicted pain upon you. When you embrace this path, you are, in essence, cultivating genuine Stoic resilience, deliberately prioritizing your own inner calm over the elusive approval of the external world. And believe me when I say, karma is a vigilant observer. In due course, their deceit and treachery will inevitably reap their just rewards. Your silence, in its own way, amplifies the resonance of their actions, making them echo far louder and with greater clarity than any explanation or rebuttal you could possibly construct. By quietly removing yourself from the situation, you are doing more than simply safeguarding your own peace of mind. You are, in fact, affording life the opportunity to impart upon them the very lessons they choose to disregard when offered by you. We have all experienced those moments, haven't we? Someone utters a snide remark, unleashes a barb disguised as mere jest, or perhaps simply and bluntly delivers a hurtful statement directly to your face. In that fleeting moment, your heart rate escalates dramatically, your chest constricts with tension, and your instincts scream out, urging you to retaliate in kind, to defend yourself with vigor, or perhaps even to unleash an even more biting and cutting rejoinder. The temptation to engage, to prove your point, to win the argument, is palpable. But remember, true strength often lies not in the words we speak, but in the silence we choose. For it is in that silence that we reclaim our power and allow karma to run its course. Here's a truth that may surprise you, a realization that can shift your perspective entirely. When you actively choose to react with anger or defensiveness, you are, in essence, surrendering your personal power directly into the hands of the person provoking you. You are, fundamentally, declaring, "Here, I relinquish control over my emotions, you now dictate how I feel." This profound understanding struck me with considerable force when I initially embarked on my exploration of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, the esteemed Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, articulated a sentiment that resonates deeply: the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. It is a sentence of remarkable simplicity, yet it possesses a profound depth of meaning when considered with genuine contemplation. When an individual directs insults toward you, their primary objective is rarely concerned with presenting truth or offering genuine, constructive feedback. Instead, their intention is to ignite your emotions, to elicit a reaction that serves their purpose. They seek to unsettle you, to penetrate your emotional defenses, and to witness your discomfort. However, when you consciously opt for silence or respond with a composed indifference, you completely invert the dynamic of the situation. Consequently, they experience failure, as you have denied them the reactive response they so eagerly sought. You have effectively neutralized their attempt to manipulate your emotional state. I recall a friend by the name of Sam, who was employed in an office environment characterized by an intense atmosphere of competitiveness. He had a colleague who appeared to derive a certain satisfaction from making passive-aggressive comments during team meetings, consistently and subtly endeavoring to diminish the significance of Sam's contributions. The co-worker's actions were designed to undermine Sam's confidence and standing within the group, creating a tense and uncomfortable atmosphere. This colleague believed they were asserting dominance, but Sam was about to discover a more effective strategy. This situation presented a unique opportunity for Sam to apply Stoic principles and reclaim his power. He was about to learn that responding with equanimity could be a far more potent response than engaging in a tit-for-tat exchange. Remarks such as, "Wow, that was actually a decent idea coming from you," or perhaps, "Didn't think you'd pull that off at first," were commonplace in Sam's work environment. Each time these seemingly innocuous, yet subtly barbed comments were directed his way, Sam would instinctively react defensively. He found himself perpetually trying to explain his reasoning, to somehow prove his worth, and to justify his actions in the face of such veiled criticism. Invariably, these interactions left him feeling utterly frustrated, emotionally drained, and ultimately, defeated. Sam recognized a pattern, a cycle that needed to be broken. He knew, with a growing sense of urgency, that something fundamental had to change. He couldn't continue allowing the negativity of others to dictate his emotional state and undermine his confidence. Therefore, one day, deeply inspired by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, the philosophy that emphasizes virtue, reason, and self-control, Sam resolved to fundamentally alter his approach. He decided he would simply stop reacting. He would no longer allow himself to be drawn into the emotional games of his coworkers. The anticipation was palpable as the next meeting rolled around. Sure enough, right on cue, the very same coworker, seemingly unable to resist the urge, delivered another sarcastic remark regarding Sam's work. This time, however, something remarkable happened. Sam, remembering his stoic resolution, simply smiled calmly, offered a slight, almost imperceptible nod of acknowledgement, and continued speaking confidently and assuredly, as if the insult hadn't even registered, as if it were mere background noise. And you know what unfolded next? The change in dynamic was almost immediately noticeable. The whole room felt the awkwardness, a tangible tension that filled the space. But interestingly, the awkwardness wasn't emanating from Sam. Instead, it was the coworker who now appeared uncomfortable and off balance. Without Sam's predictable reaction to fuel the insult, without the validation of a defensive response, the comment hung awkwardly in the air, devoid of its intended sting, losing all its power. It was a moment of quiet triumph for Sam, a turning point in his workplace interactions. Over time, the insults, the sarcastic jabs, and the passive-aggressive remarks ceased completely. This wasn't because the coworker suddenly underwent a miraculous personality transformation or experienced a sudden burst of empathy. Rather, it was because he realized, perhaps subconsciously, that he could no longer control Sam's emotions. He could no longer elicit the desired reaction, the defensive posture that had previously fueled his behavior. By refusing to engage, Sam had effectively disarmed his critic, reclaiming his own emotional sovereignty and fostering a more respectful and productive work environment. This, in essence, is the very power that Stoicism endeavors to impart. It is fundamentally about regaining dominion over your emotional landscape, refusing to cede control to external influences that seek to dictate your feelings. Epictetus, a truly legendary figure within the realm of Stoic philosophy, articulated this concept with striking clarity: any person capable of angering you becomes your master. Allow that profound statement to truly resonate within you. Consider this: do you genuinely desire that an individual, who resorts to base tactics such as insults or petty remarks, should wield such considerable authority over your emotions, your precious energy, or the trajectory of your entire day? The answer, undoubtedly, is a resounding no. Therefore, the next time you find yourself confronted with an insult, irrespective of whether it is delivered with directness, veiled subtly, or even cunningly disguised as humor, make it a practice to pause momentarily before reacting impulsively. Take a moment to gently remind yourself that their disparaging comment, in reality, speaks volumes more about their own deeply rooted insecurities than it could ever possibly reveal about your true self. It is often the case that individuals who lash out in such a manner are themselves engaged in a fierce internal struggle, grappling with their own pervasive frustrations, gnawing envy, or overwhelming feelings of personal inadequacy. Consequently, your calm, unperturbed silence, or your display of gentle indifference, emerges as the most potent and effective response imaginable. This is because it serves to underscore their negativity in stark relief, without simultaneously dragging you down into the murky depths of their own troubled emotional state. The deliberate choice of silence, in this context, should never be misconstrued as a sign of weakness. Quite the contrary, in fact. It unequivocally demonstrates remarkable strength of character, unwavering dignity, and an impressive degree of self-control. Thus, through embracing Stoicism, you actively reclaim your emotional sovereignty and navigate the complexities of human interaction with poise and unwavering resolve. Responding with grace to insults is not just a sign of maturity, it unequivocally demonstrates that you are above the fray of petty attacks. It highlights your inherent confidence in your own identity, and it underscores that you are grounded enough to remain impervious to the negativity projected by others. And, believe me when I say this, nothing is more infuriating to an insulter than the stark realization that they possess absolutely zero power over you. It's a devastating blow to their ego, a clear indication that their attempts to belittle you have failed miserably. Here's a practical tip, a strategy you can immediately implement to disarm these verbal aggressors. When someone hurls an insult in your direction, pause, even if only for a few seconds. Then, offer a genuine smile, a gesture that speaks volumes without uttering a single word. And then, simply choose not to respond at all. Let the silence hang in the air, a testament to your self-assuredness. Or, if you feel compelled to reply, maintain an air of composure and offer a calm, neutral response. A simple, interesting perspective can be remarkably effective. Even better, try, "Thanks for sharing." These measured replies will likely elicit a fascinating reaction. You will observe their confidence visibly crumble as they come to the crushing realization that their jab has harmlessly bounced off your emotional armor, leaving you completely unscathed. It's like watching a balloon deflate, their attempts to provoke you rendered utterly futile. We have all, without a doubt, encountered that one individual who possesses the uncanny ability to twist any situation to their advantage. They effortlessly make themselves appear completely innocent, while simultaneously painting you as the villain in their carefully crafted narrative, wouldn't you agree? They possess this almost supernatural skill for spinning narratives, conveniently omitting key details that would expose their deception, and somehow managing to elicit sympathy from everyone in their immediate vicinity. This behavior is undeniably exhausting, a drain on your emotional reserves. This is primarily because your initial instinct, your gut reaction, is probably to immediately jump in and defend yourself, to painstakingly set the record straight and expose the truth. You feel an overwhelming urge to correct their misrepresentations and reveal their manipulative tactics to the world. But, resisting that impulse is key to maintaining your own peace and demonstrating your superior emotional intelligence. However, here's the crucial point: the very instant you succumb to the temptation to engage, you are, in essence, playing precisely into their carefully laid trap. Stoicism, that ancient philosophy, offers us truly profound wisdom in this regard. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wisely stated, "You possess power over your own mind, but not over events occurring outside of it." Recognize this fundamental truth, and you will discover immense strength within yourself. Essentially, you simply cannot prevent someone from adopting the role of a victim, it is beyond your control. However, you absolutely retain the power to dictate how you choose to respond to their actions. These individuals, those who perpetually portray themselves as victims, actually thrive on your reactions, eagerly seizing upon your attempts to offer clarification or even correct their skewed narratives. They use these attempts as further proof, in their minds, that they are somehow under attack. It may sound utterly counterintuitive, even crazy, but the more rational, the more logical, or even the more passionate your response is, the greater the opportunity they have to twist your words, to misinterpret your intentions, and ultimately to use your own reaction against you. Therefore, choosing deliberate silence, or perhaps a calm and detached observation, is actually your most powerful strategic move in this situation. Why is this the case? Because when you steadfastly refuse to engage with their carefully constructed victim narrative, you effectively rob it of its lifeblood, you starve it of the emotional fuel it needs to survive. Stoicism eloquently teaches us that our inner peace, our true serenity, originates from internal clarity and self-assurance, not from seeking external validation or approval from others. You are under absolutely no obligation to prove your innocence or defend your character when you are confident in the integrity of your own truth. Allowing someone else's dramatic performance to simply pass by without eliciting any emotional engagement from you is a quiet, almost imperceptible, yet incredibly potent demonstration of inner strength and self-mastery. It is a declaration that you will not be drawn into their game, that you will maintain your equilibrium regardless of their attempts to provoke you. Here's a profound, yet simple truth that holds immense power: individuals who persistently portray themselves as victims invariably reveal their true nature over time. Certain patterns begin to surface, and people inevitably start to observe how difficulties and misfortune seem to consistently dog their every step. As the ancient philosopher Epictetus wisely stated, freedom is indeed the only truly worthy goal. It is attained by ignoring and disregarding those things that lie beyond your sphere of control. You simply cannot directly control another person's manipulative tactics or their choices. However, you can absolutely exercise complete control over your own participation in their elaborate games. Therefore, consider this analogy: by firmly refusing to react to their provocations, you are silently and powerfully declaring, "I am simply not willing to be cast in your drama. I refuse to play the role you have assigned me." This particular kind of silence is certainly not passive or weak. It is, instead, entirely intentional and deliberate. It's a strategic and calculated step back, providing them with ample space to unveil their true character and motivations entirely on their own. When you calmly and decisively withdraw yourself from their narrative, your absence speaks volumes, often louder and more eloquently than any words could ever convey. And here's a fundamental truth about karma, or the natural law of cause and effect: ultimately, the truth will inevitably find its way to the surface without your reactions continuing to fuel and perpetuate their story. People will soon begin to perceive the inconsistencies and discrepancies in their account. Your silence allows reality to naturally clarify itself, much like a pond stilling to reveal the depths below. You do not need to say a single word. Life itself has a remarkable way of exposing authenticity and revealing deceit without any intervention from you. Therefore, trust the process and allow events to unfold. The truth will emerge. It possesses a singularly peculiar feeling, doesn't it? That sensation which arises when one lavishes their heart and vitality upon a particular endeavor, be it in the realm of interpersonal connections, amicable bonds, or professional pursuits, only to subsequently discern that one is being utterly and completely ignored. You are consistently present, ever striving to present your most advantageous aspect, and yet, somehow, your substantial contributions appear to become imperceptible, as if veiled in a cloak of invisibility. The initial, instinctual reaction is frequently to exert even greater effort, to amplify one's voice, or to irrefutably demonstrate, once and for all, the immense value that you possess. However, herein lies the intricacy: the relentless pursuit of recognition seldom enhances the regard with which others hold you. Indeed, it is not uncommon for such behavior to inadvertently lead them to take you even more for granted, perpetuating a cycle of underappreciation. This juncture represents a moment where the profound insights of Stoic philosophy truly assume prominence. Marcus Aurelius, the esteemed Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once advised us to cultivate our sense of intrinsic worth from within ourselves, rather than relying upon external sources for validation and approval. He aptly observed, "It never ceases to amaze me, we cherish and love ourselves more profoundly than we do other individuals, yet we are often more preoccupied with their opinions than with our own internal judgments." Reflect upon that statement for a moment. How frequently do we permit another person's inability to perceive our true value to morph into our own personal problem, a source of anxiety and self-doubt? This is a pitfall we must avoid, for true self-worth stems from internal conviction, not external acknowledgement. Therefore, embrace self-acceptance and focus on your own growth and values, rather than seeking validation from those who may not appreciate your worth. In connection with this, it's important to remember that your value is not dependent on external recognition. Your skills, talents, and dedication hold intrinsic worth, regardless of whether they are acknowledged by others. Instead of chasing approval, direct your energy towards self-improvement and pursuing your passions. This will not only enhance your own sense of self-worth but also attract individuals who genuinely appreciate your contributions. Thus, by focusing on internal validation and self-development, you can break free from the cycle of seeking external approval and cultivate a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Depending on the acknowledgments of others for your sense of value is, in essence, relinquishing total control over your own self-worth. Let us be honest, why should anyone else bear the burden of defining what you are truly worth? Here is a stark but profoundly empowering truth to ponder. Actively seeking recognition or craving attention invariably diminishes your perceived value in the eyes of others. Such behavior often broadcasts insecurity, rather than projecting strength and inner confidence. Stoicism, that ancient philosophy of resilience, imparts to us the crucial lesson that our self-respect must invariably take precedence above all else. If someone consistently overlooks or systematically undervalues your significant contributions, the most potent and empowering course of action you can undertake is to calmly and deliberately step back from the situation. This should not be conducted dramatically, nor with fiery anger, but rather with a quiet and dignified withdrawal of your energy and presence. Your absence, your deliberate silence, thus becomes far more resonant than any impassioned protest or desperate demand for appreciation ever could. Consider, if you will, how we often treat everyday luxuries, those conveniences we frequently take for granted, such as access to clean water, reliable electricity, or even ubiquitous Wi-Fi connectivity. We barely give them a second thought, that is, until they suddenly vanish, leaving us wanting. Then, their sudden absence serves to remind us vividly, in stark terms, of their fundamental importance in our lives. This principle is exactly mirrored within the intricate dynamics of human relationships or the sometimes turbulent settings of workplaces. When you consciously remove your constant and unwavering availability, when your presence is no longer a given, people will, perhaps for the first time, begin to truly and deeply feel the weight of your worth and the significance of your contributions. Your value, once perhaps overlooked, becomes undeniably apparent. You transition from a state where your contributions are simply taken for granted to a situation where you are genuinely missed, a profound shift indeed. And it is precisely at that juncture that others ultimately recognize just how crucial your presence and efforts have always been, a realization that often comes as a surprise. Now, I'll delve into something personal, a story that I believe might strike a chord with you, the reader. There was a definite time in my life when I found myself relentlessly going the extra mile, constantly hoping that someone would eventually acknowledge the sheer magnitude of my efforts, how deeply I cared about the tasks at hand. However, that recognition never materialized. Instead, the more diligently I strived, the more invisible I seemed to become, a paradox that left me feeling both frustrated and disheartened. Eventually, I embraced this simple, yet profoundly powerful Stoic insight: you, as an individual, cannot exert control over how much someone else values you. However, you absolutely retain complete control over whether or not you tolerate being consistently undervalued. This was a game changer. Therefore, I quietly and deliberately stepped back from the situation. I did not demand attention, nor did I launch into a dramatic exit speech, a grand gesture designed to draw attention. Instead, I simply ceased pouring my valuable energy into something that was simply not giving anything back in return. I made a conscious decision to redirect my efforts. The result of this action? Almost immediately, my absence was deeply felt. People started taking notice and asking questions, genuinely wondering where I had gone, and more importantly, why things suddenly weren't running as smoothly anymore. And while that sudden attention and recognition felt initially validating, the true victory lay in the self-respect that I successfully regained in the process. I finally understood my own worth. Consequently, this experience taught me an invaluable lesson about boundaries and self-valuation. I have come to realize a profound truth: genuine appreciation can never be coerced. It must emanate organically from the depths of one's being. Consequently, when it is absent, it likely serves as an unmistakable indication that your precious energy is being channeled into unproductive ventures. This embodies Stoicism at its finest, guiding us to discover inherent dignity in our own deeds, as opposed to seeking validation through external applause or acknowledgement. Seneca, the renowned philosopher, astutely proclaimed, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." This serves as a poignant reminder that authentic value and self-worth are cultivated through adversities, quiet fortitude, and intrinsic resilience. They are not derived from the fleeting approval or recognition of others. Therefore, dear friend, the subsequent occasion you experience feelings of being disregarded or undervalued, resist the urge to amplify your voice. Instead, cultivate a sense of quietude. Allow silence to become your eloquent voice, your very presence a subtle yet powerful reminder of what is conspicuously lacking. Your intrinsic worth does not diminish merely because another individual fails to perceive it with clarity. When you gracefully withdraw yourself from the situation, karma subtly intercedes. Those who genuinely recognize and cherish your essence will undoubtedly seek you out, drawn to the radiant light you possess. Conversely, those who consistently fail to appreciate your value will naturally dissipate from your sphere, thereby creating space in your life for individuals and circumstances that truly merit your invaluable energy. It is a gentle unfolding, a natural selection process orchestrated by the universe itself, ensuring that you are surrounded by those who uplift and celebrate your unique contribution. Such is the profound wisdom of Stoicism, guiding us towards self-reliance and inner peace. Have you ever experienced those serene moments, where tranquility washes over you, and you feel completely in command of yourself and your surroundings? Then, out of seemingly nowhere, someone descends upon you, intentionally seeking to agitate and provoke you. Perhaps it manifests as a biting, sarcastic remark, an unwarranted critique, or simply a look designed to pierce your composure. It is almost as if they are poised with a lit match, eagerly anticipating the explosion. Astonishingly, the instant you succumb and react, a veritable explosion occurs, and you have inadvertently delivered precisely what they craved. The automatic inclination is nearly invariably to retaliate, to rise in your own defense, or at the very least, to ensure they comprehend that you are aware of their manipulative game. However, here is where the profound wisdom of Stoicism furnishes us with invaluable guidance. Marcus Aurelius, the esteemed Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once proclaimed, "You possess dominion over your mind, not over external events. Comprehend this truth, and you shall discover strength." Reflect on that profound statement for a moment. The solitary reason anyone attempts to provoke you is born from their deep-seated yearning to exert control over your emotional landscape. Therefore, your reaction becomes their coveted prize. The moment you respond emotionally, whether it be with unbridled anger, defensive posturing, or overwhelming frustration, they emerge victorious, and you, in turn, relinquish control over your inner peace. Consequently, the power to remain unperturbed lies solely within your grasp. It resides in your capacity to recognize the manipulative intent behind the provocation and choose, consciously, to withhold the anticipated reaction. This, in essence, is the essence of Stoic resilience, the ability to maintain equanimity amidst the storms of life, refusing to surrender your inner tranquility to the whims of others. By not reacting, you deny them their desired victory and, more importantly, safeguard your own mental fortitude. The truly astonishing aspect of opting for silence, or a serene indifference, in such challenging situations lies in its capacity to utterly disarm the provocateur. It leaves them standing there, awkwardly, often bewildered, and desperately trying to decipher why their manipulative tactics have suddenly ceased to function. They cast their bait, anticipating a fierce confrontation, only to be met with an unexpected wave of tranquility. Indeed, nothing incites more profound frustration in an individual who thrives on drama and conflict than the experience of being completely and utterly disregarded. Stoicism, as a philosophy, imparts a vital lesson. Emotional control is by no means a passive trait, rather, it represents your most potent form of personal power. Let's delve into this concept with even greater depth. Epictetus, another influential Stoic philosopher, presented a remarkably insightful observation: any person capable of angering you essentially becomes your master. Pause for a moment and contemplate the weight of that idea. Would you genuinely relinquish control and entrust your emotional well-being to another individual? Of course not. Your inner peace, your tranquility, your emotional mastery, these represent your personal fortress, a sanctuary within. And the very instant you permit external provocations to agitate or unsettle you, you have effectively surrendered the keys to that fortress. Instead, consider embracing this practical approach. The next time an individual attempts to provoke you, intentionally or otherwise, take a brief pause, perhaps just for a couple of seconds. Consciously notice your breath, grounding yourself in the present moment. Calmly remind yourself that their actions, their words, and their attempts at manipulation speak volumes about their own underlying insecurities, their personal struggles, and their internal conflicts. These actions do not, in any way, reflect upon you or your inherent worth. This simple act of self-awareness and emotional regulation can transform the entire dynamic, shifting the balance of power back into your favor and allowing you to maintain your composure in the face of adversity. Thus, you remain the master of your own emotional domain, unyielding in your serenity. Imagine yourself standing with unwavering composure behind that impassive fortress of yourself, feeling utterly secure and entirely unmoved by their futile efforts to incite you. Offer a courteous nod, perhaps, or a relaxed, almost mysterious smile. Utter not a single word. Simply continue onward with your day, unperturbed and undeterred. Observe with quiet satisfaction how their initial confidence begins to dwindle, how it actually shrinks before your very eyes, as they gradually realize they possess absolutely zero power, not even a mote, over you and your inner sanctuary. And now, here is another potentially transformative shift in perspective, a truly liberating idea. Every single attempt someone makes to provoke you, to goad you, to irritate you, is, in reality, actually a hidden compliment, a backhanded admission of your worth. Yes, you heard me absolutely correctly. They are, albeit unconsciously and perhaps reluctantly, acknowledging that you are significant enough, influential enough, or indeed, simply strong enough that they feel compelled to try and knock you off your equilibrium, to disrupt your inner peace. It is, you see, a twisted and distorted form of admiration, cloaked in a veil of envy and perhaps even a touch of resentment. When you deliberately choose calm, measured silence instead of an impulsive, emotional reaction, you are, in effect, silently communicating to them, I see precisely what you are attempting to do, but I assure you, it will absolutely not work, because my inner peace is simply not negotiable. It is mine, and mine alone to command. Stoicism, that ancient philosophy of inner strength, offers us a profound and powerful reminder: true and enduring strength is not found in reacting, in flying off the handle. Rather, it resides in restraining your reactions, in exercising self-control. It is about recognizing that every provocation, every insult, every attempt to goad you is simply noise, mere distraction. And noise, by its very nature, cannot harm you in any meaningful way, unless, of course, you deliberately choose to respond to it, to give it power over you. Thus, choose silence, choose calm, choose your own inner peace. Let them unleash their shouts, direct their criticisms, or attempt to bait you, while you, in contrast, remain centered, firmly grounded, and possess a quiet, undeniable power. Ultimately, My friend, the most effective response to provocation is often no response whatsoever. This isn't born of weakness, nor is it a sign of passivity. Instead, it stems precisely from the fact that you are too strong, too self-assured, to permit anyone else to dictate or manipulate your emotional state. Your silence in such moments resonates far louder and with greater clarity than any words ever could. It transmits an unmistakable message: you cannot disturb my inner peace, my tranquility belongs entirely and solely to me. There exists a certain quiet power, a profound strength, that accompanies truly moving on from someone who never genuinely appreciated your presence, your contributions, or your essence. It's an ironic twist, isn't it, how frequently people only begin to recognize your true value, the depth of your character, and the significance of your role in their lives after you've made the resolute decision that you are, in fact, better off without them. Perhaps you've extended countless second chances, tirelessly poured all your effort and energy into making things work, striving to build a solid foundation, only to be met with indifference, disrespect, or even outright disregard. And yet, the very moment you step away, the instant they truly feel your absence, the palpable void left by your departure, suddenly they're knocking at your door, their voices filled with apologies and brimming with regret. It's as if your absence serves as a harsh mirror, reflecting back to them the enormity of what they have lost, the treasure they carelessly cast aside. Thus, remember your worth and never let anyone dictate your emotional state. This way you protect your emotional well-being. At this juncture, your initial reaction might be an impulsive urge to hasten back, yearning to bask in the confirmation of being, at long last, acknowledged and valued. Nevertheless, allow me to share a profound truth I have gleaned from the teachings of Stoicism: you possess no inherent need for their remorse or their apologies to affirm your intrinsic worth. Marcus Aurelius, the esteemed Stoic philosopher, eloquently penned, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your own estimate of it." In essence, their regret should not dictate your choices or define your self-esteem. Instead, your personal perception of yourself holds paramount importance. Opting for silence and maintaining distance in such circumstances conveys an unequivocal message: you are cognizant of your value, and it remains non-negotiable. Stoicism imparts to us that genuine strength resides in exercising dominion over our emotions and preserving lucidity, even when an individual finally comprehends the magnitude of what they have forfeited. Consequently, there exists no imperative for retribution, acrimony, or even protracted elucidations. Your very absence articulates volumes. Consider this proposition from a pragmatic standpoint. When an individual who previously undervalued you ultimately recognizes your significance, they are primarily grappling with the repercussions of their actions, rather than experiencing a sudden epiphany. Their newfound awareness likely stems from the tangible void your absence has created in their lives. This realization often comes about because they are now forced to confront the consequences of their misjudgment, experiencing the impact of your absence on a daily basis. Therefore, your silence serves as a potent testament to your self-respect and unwavering conviction in your own value. It underscores that your worth is not subject to external validation, but rather anchored in your self-perception. Their regret, however profound it may seem, does not necessarily signify a genuine transformation. Instead, it often merely indicates a dawning realization that you are no longer accessible, that the opportunity to have you in their life has slipped away. Consequently, your primary objective should not be to alleviate their regret or to provide comfort for the choices they made. Rather, your task is to preserve the dignity and inner peace that you have painfully cultivated by making the decision to step away from the relationship. Stoicism, with its age-old wisdom, offers a crucial reminder in this situation. The past, with all its accompanying hurts and disappointments, is simply not ours to alter or repair. As the esteemed philosopher Epictetus so eloquently stated, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control. You possess no power to control another person's regret or the precise moment they choose to acknowledge your intrinsic value. However, you absolutely wield complete control over your own reactions and responses to their attempts at reconnection. Therefore, when you consciously choose not to re-enter their life, you are not engaging in cruelty or revenge. On the contrary, you are honoring the boundaries that you have established for yourself and valuing your self-respect far above any fleeting moment of external validation that they might offer. Now, consider something truly empowering and inspiring. Your life does not simply pause or cease to progress simply because someone else has only now begun to comprehend what they have lost. Instead, your life continues to expand and evolve, opening new doors to meaningful connections and experiences that will enrich your journey. It blossoms with potential and possibility. Finally, when you choose to let go with grace and composure, maintaining your equanimity and quiet strength, karma, that universal force of balance, will ultimately take over and ensure that justice prevails. Trust in the natural order of things. Let the universe work its magic. With gentle precision, life possesses a remarkable way of ensuring that those who previously failed to appreciate your worth eventually come to a profound understanding of the true gravity of their actions. Indeed, it is a poignant lesson, often learned belatedly. Consequently, your deliberate silence in the face of their subsequent regret represents the most lucid and definitive form of closure you can extend, both to them and, crucially, to yourself. Let us not mistake this silence for a sign of weakness. Remember, your chosen silence is, in fact, an embodiment of strength, dignity, and profound wisdom actively at play. It speaks volumes where words might fall short. It is a testament to your inner resilience and self-awareness. Therefore, embrace this silence as a powerful tool. Furthermore, if you find yourself ready to delve deeper into the art of mastering your emotions, drawing inspiration from the ancient philosophy of Stoicism, we invite you to explore the enriching video currently displayed on your screen. This resource offers valuable insights and practical strategies for cultivating inner peace and resilience. Finally, we extend our sincere gratitude for being a meaningful and valued part of the community. Your presence and engagement are deeply appreciated, and we hope to continue providing you with content that empowers and inspires. Your journey towards self-mastery is important, and we are honored to be a part of it. Thus, we encourage you to continue exploring and growing.